Hi, I'm back. Sorry it took me a while. I had previous engagements and my sinus, for whatever reasons, was going ballistic. Like every time I would step out the door, my eyes would go to going, I'm sneezing all over the place. But nevertheless, let's get to getting it. I'm talking about 3/5 human. What is a 3/5 of a human being? Who is 3/5 of a human? Often misinterpreted to mean that African Americans as individuals are considered 3/5 of a person, or that they are 3/5 of a citizen of the United States. The 3/5 clause is in Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution of 1787. In fact, declared that for purpose of representation in Congress, enslaved black people. I'm not finna keep on talking about Afro-American and all that and that. What is a Afro in the first place? American. Nevertheless, the 3/5 clause of the United States Constitution in 1787 states that we're 3/5 melanated people, not complete humans, often misinterpreted to mean African Americans as individuals are considered the 3/5 of a person, and that they are 3/5 of a citizen of the United States. Enslaved blacks in a state would be counted as 3/5 of the number of white inhabitants of that state. The 3/5 clause was part of a series of compromises enacted by the Constitutional Convention of 1787. The most notable other clause prohibited slavery in the Northwest Territory and ended in the United States. Participation in the international slave trade in 1807, this compromise reflected Virginia Constitutional Convention delegate and future United States President James Madison observation that the state were divided into different interests, not by their size, but the principality from their having or not having slaves. When the Constitution Convention delegate Roger Sherman of Connecticut proposed that congressional representation, he based on the total number of inhabitants of state delegate Charles Pinckney of South Carolina agreed, saying blacks, quote unquote, ought to stand on an equality with whites. Pinckney's statement was disingenuous since at the time he knew most blacks were enslaved in his state and none slave or free could vote or were considered equal of whites of South Carolinians. Other delegates including most notability, Governor Morris of Pennsylvania argued that he could not support equal representation because he, quote unquote, could never agree to give such encouragement to the slave trade by allowing them southern state a representation of their Negroes. Seemingly at an impasse, Charles Pinckney proposed a compromise. 3/5 of the number of slaves in any particular state would be added to the total number of free white persons, including bound servants, but not Indians, to the estimated number of congressmen each state was sent to the House of Representatives. The Pinckney Compromise was not completely original. This retro had already been established by the Congress, which adopted in 1781 as the basis for national taxation. Although the 3/5 Compromise and others regarding slavery, helped hold this new fragile union of states together, many of both sides of the issue was opposed. James Madison and Edmund Randolph of Virginia used the phrase quota of contribution to argue that slaves should be fully counted, one for one, and opposed the compromise. Northern opponents correctly pointed out that slave-holding states had more representatives than if the free white population was counted by 1793. Slave-holding states had 47 congressmen, but would have had only 33 if not for the compromise during the entire period before the Civil War. Slave-holding states had disproportionate influence on the presidency of the House of Representatives and the United States Supreme Court. Because of the compromise, by 1830, abolitionists such as William Lord Garrison of Massachusetts used the clause in their argument that the federal government was dominated by slaveholders. The 3/5 clause remained in force until the post-Civil War. 13th Amendment freed all enslaved people in the United States. The 14th Amendment gave them full citizenship, and the 15th Amendment granted black men the right to vote. But if you go back into the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments, several changes have took place. And this amendment about a 3/5 of a person today still makes you 3/5 of a human being. So when they call you a monkey or something related to an animal or a mammal, they're not only making mockery of you, but this is in the Constitution, and no one has taken the time to read or look into the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment rights. Because if you only 3/5 of a person, then that means that you're not really a human being. So, with that being said, you don't have no rights. Only human, white people, non-melanated people is what the Constitution is here for. I got a little dismayed with my commentaries because I'm trying to reach a dying nation, and as long as you talking about something foolish or some gossiping, garbage, anything that you would throw in a truffle and throw to a pig, you all seem to gravitate to. But something that will get your mind regulated and your intellect taken to another level of understanding, you guys just ain't trying to hear, but you gonna hear it. Yeah, you gonna hear it, and you know when you gonna hear it? When it's way too late in the day. Because best believe, before slavery, people was doing what we as a people is doing now. They can't do it. You can do anything you want to when you rule this. But those with hearing ears, hear this. Go and take a gander at the Constitution and all of your rights that's been provoked. One in particular is coming through your door. They used to would have to have a search warrant to come through your door. While you won't hear key, 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 and everything is so hilarious and so forth, they done changed that too. They don't have to have a search warrant to come through your door anymore. All they have to do is suspect that wrongful doing is going on in your domains, and they can kick the door wide open anytime they get ready. And so what if it ain't none gone? I suspected that it was. So I was about to, I was feeling like, because I love the mukbangers. I love to watch people enjoy food. From my heart, I really do. So what do I fit in to the scheme of things is what I was thinking. And I didn't want to be associated per se with a particular organization, because I am that I am, and I don't need to be represented by anyone. My representation speaks for itself. I am my Father's child, and I don't need to belong to any particular group or whatever like that. I speak my truth, and I try to help people rise to the occasion of overstanding what's going on around you. And at the end of the day, my Father invited me to do this commentary in such a way, and I want to be able to be informative, give you some insight, food of thought, so that you can, do a little research and find out things you may not even have thought about or don't know that's going on around you. Either way, I'm Brenda Jackson, and I look forward to bringing my commentary, Great Awakening. It's great to be awoke.